My name's Alex Jones. I'm a radio and television host in Austin, Texas. And for many years, I've been exposing the criminal activities of the global elite, otherwise known as the New World Order. These folks don't make their money out of the production of goods and services or via creativity. They make their money, and their stock and trade is slavery, control of populations. In the next 2 hours, you will see hardcore documentation, evidence that is irrefutable that America is turning into a nightmarish police state. Cameras on the street corners, mass checkpoints on our major interstate highways, warrantless searches. But worst of all, you'll see America's military being perverted, being turned into an instrument of control, not an instrument of defense. I have footage, and you're going to see it. Marines engaging in mock gun confiscations, kicking in doors, setting up concentration camps, and working with foreign troops from China, Russia, Britain, Australia. It's incredible, my friends, and you've got to face up to it. I've got to face up to it, and we've got to take action. But perhaps worst of all is the Delta Force, Army Special Operations from Fort Bragg, North Carolina, slamming into South Texas towns during Operation Last Dance. Buildings ablaze, power lines down, live fire exercises, the citizenry terrorized. Again, this isn't some foreign country. This is America. Psychological warfare against the population. Why are armored personnel carriers being delivered every week to small towns and big cities? Not for the military, but for police. Why is the military training with our police? And what's happening? My friends, this is the battle for the Republic. The enemy is not our police, and it's not our military. It is those that would pervert and twist the sacred oath that our peace officers and military folks have sworn to uphold. That is to defend our country from enemies foreign and domestic. It's up to you. This whole criminal system, this whole undertaking that we see unfolding before our eyes is done through ignorance. It's up to you to educate the cop that lives next door to you, or to talk to your friend who's a captain or a colonel or a general or a private in the United States military. It's up to you to educate them about what's happening and refresh their memory about history. We are repeating what happened in 1933 Germany. Warrantless random searches on America's interstate highways. We think this is as good a place as any to start our story. All part of being guilty until proven innocent. The checkpoints. Brought to you by something as innocuous, at least seemingly, as the presidential initiative on seatbelt use. The Clinton administration's supposed liberals allotted over $2 billion plus for 1999 alone for nationwide Nazi behavior, warrantless searches of anybody the police feel like pulling over and harassing. In a police state, police don't have to work very hard. But in a republic, in a country with freedom, they do. This is not an attack on the police. It's a cry for help to every American. Now we're about to go out and speak to some of the police and expose what they're doing and hopefully reactivate their conscience.
Caution, reduce speed, check, point ahead. Isn't that loving, children?
America, here to take care of you.
Well, there's the command unit over there, shining their lights in people's face. Hello, Waffen SS. We've got them just pulling them back, pulling them off down there, pulling them off here, all part of Bill Clinton's funding, and they love it. Look at the traffic they got backed up. It is monumental. You're seeing MJTF right now, police from all different counties in Central Texas and Austin working together, bringing you the police state. It's going to get a lot worse. The war against guns is raging. We're in 1936 Germany right now.
We made it out there at about 11 p.m. The checkpoint had been going since 6 p.m. that night during peak traffic time on I-835. So we walked on over and asked the officers a few questions to find out if they had any idea what they were engaging in. Because remember, this whole thing is run out of ignorance.
Hello, I'm the two-kid radio talk show host, and Alex Jones. How you doing?
Okay.
What's your name, sir?
Shane.
This is night vision camera. Sir, this is reminiscent of Nazi Germany.
I'll get somebody to talk to you about that. People are on the left.
Well, they were telling us the person in charge would come.
I'll get him.
Okay. Doesn't this kind of seem like Nazi Germany to you? I mean, aren't we innocent until proven guilty instead of guilty until proven innocent?
I couldn't talk with you about this, sir. I'm just out there doing my job.
It's just your job?
Yes, sir.
Hey, well, you know who else said that?
Who said that?
Well, at Nuremberg. Aren't we innocent until proven guilty?
Are you guilty or something?
No, I'm not guilty of anything.
Oh, I thought you were asking me, were you innocent to prove guilty?
But, I mean, aren't we all supposed, in this country, You know, other countries like Germany under Hitler it wasn't that way, or under Stalin it wasn't that way. But here in America, aren't we supposed to be innocent until proven guilty?
That's true.
That's true. There you go. Talk to us. Well, I mean, I don't hate police or anything, but at the same time, you got to wonder, this is happening all over the country now because the federal funds that are flowing. I mean, isn't that interesting?
You're talking to the wrong person.
Talking to the wrong person?
You're talking to the wrong person, brother.
What do y'all call these units? I see a lot of these around town.
It's an unmarked police unit.
Just an unmarked police unit.
I'm just out here doing my job, brother.
There may come a time when you see some things on television that are manufactured by the government. They're asking y'all to do some things that don't really sound right, but in the rush of everything, everybody working together, feeling like y'all are part of a team, going along with some things that aren't good. There's a lot of things accelerating in the world today that aren't too nice.
I could harken back to Rosa Parks going to jail for not sitting at the back of the bus. It was the law that black people were slaves, but later it was found to be unconstitutional. Laws are not holy. Laws are not magical if handed down by some despotic, out-of-control police state. You're about to see an interview we conducted in mid-May in 1998 with the Chief of Police of San Antonio, Texas, Chief Ali Philippus. The chief was very concerned about what he called the attempts at bribery by Army Special Operations Delta Force. Also, the endangerment of public safety. All very serious issues. This interview is a watershed event because, as far as we know, this is the first time that local law enforcement, local police leadership has actively stood up against Bill Clinton's new military, or the globalist New World Order type military, where they come into towns and terrorize the public. Again, God bless Chief Ali Philippus. What were your major reservations in asking the mayor to tell them that y'all didn't want them to train here and to cease training here?
Well, a lot of things happened. First of all, the organization came into the city and never really approached the city as a whole. We're just gotten together with the mayor and said we need to speak to all these different departments and request some assistance. Various groups and individuals came into the city and approached different people at different levels. The police department was contacted. The city manager's office was contacted about using city facilities. Various business owners were contacted through the economic development department. The fire department was contacted by different individuals. So there was never any coordinated approach to the city of San Antonio. When we found out of that, we had some reservations, but we were willing at least to listen. But then we started finding out that discussions were happening at other different levels, and there was no communication, no coordination between that. We also found out that leases had been negotiated with private business people throughout the city to utilize their vacant buildings without any coordination with the police department, because we were originally told there were probably going to be a couple of locations, and later on we find out that there's 12 locations, and yet we were never brought into this at the beginning.
I heard it quoted that the mayor said that he didn't appreciate the dishonesty of the Delta Force. I was curious. We call the mayor's office Jackie O'Donnell, I believe is her name. She told us that you were the mayor's spokesman on this. Can you tell us exactly why the mayor would use such strong language and call them dishonest?
Well, I think that there were various approaches. For example, when I originally said no several weeks ago, matter of fact, a couple of months ago, but no was never no, and then no was never no. End of runs were done around to various community leaders. I had someone...
Excuse me, sir, you're saying that they ignored the police chief, and under our Constitution, you're the same as the sheriff, and you run the city or the county? You're telling me that Delta Force was ignoring your order?
Well, I don't want to say they ignored it, but in a roundabout way, yes, because what they would do, once I said no, they went to various individuals in the community to bring pressure to bear to get me to change my mind. For example, there was a community leader who I have a great deal of respect for, and we have a very good relationship that they went to. I get a call from him, and he says, Chief, there's some people in here that they're in town, and it was part of their role here. Didn't say who it was. They need to meet with the mayor and the police chief. Well, of course, this gentleman, I've worked very closely with him on a number of projects. I said, sure, have him give me a call. Now, I'd already said no. Well, then I find out it's the same group. So they identified somebody apparently that I know that's very high in the community to make an approach to me and get me to change my mind. Well, then, when we said no, then some elected officials were contacted to bring pressure to bear. And then offers were made to give money, cash money, to elected officials' charities if they could get us to change our minds. As one of my deputy chiefs said, in some circles, that's called bribery.
Well, it is called bribery, but more importantly, it's called manipulation of the constitutional system and the takeover of local police departments. You talked about a memo from Delta Force?
Yeah, because what happened is various elected officials were being contacted. I have 10 city council members and a mayor, and I just wanted to alert them as to what was happening. These situations were occurring. They might be contacted by these individuals, and that in the best interest of public safety, and that's what I continue to fall back on. We didn't feel that it was in the best interest of the citizens of San Antonio to do that type of thing. All I can say is that no just never seemed to be no. And even after they told us, we don't need you, we're still going to do our training exercise at other locations in and around the San Antonio area, but we're allowed to do them here. Next, I'm still getting contacted by various officials. I mean, they never would take no for an answer.
So they weren't respecting your jurisdiction?
They were not respecting our jurisdiction. I don't think they respected our decision to go into predominantly minority areas of the city where we had vacant warehouses and buildings between 9 p.m. and midnight. People become frightened, and we drew a lot of our decision-making on experiences that had happened in a lot of other cities. I made contact with my peers in some of the other major cities, and they shared with me some of their experiences over there. The decision really was very easy. My interest as police chief is the citizens of the city.
Yes, sir.
Period. And I was not about to jeopardize the safety under an exercise of this magnitude under any circumstance.
Well, you can't say it any better than that. This isn't some wild conspiracy theorist. This is Al Philippus, head police chief in San Antonio, Texas. Oh, and the mayor, too, Howard Peak. He says that it's dangerous and that they're dishonest.
I know that they wanted to use some explosives for entry into some of these buildings, some of the so-called ceramic bullets, which would be fired into little traps, which were supposed to catch those, which would disintegrate supposedly on contact. But I know that in one city, one of those bullets got astray and through a window and down almost into a restaurant. Things can go wrong.
So, as it stands, until they actually confer with y'all better or change their plans, they're not really welcome to train here in San Antonio?
We are not going to support any of their operations. They may do some things at the various military bases here in San Antonio. That certainly is their jurisdiction, but we will not support any operations in the city limits.
We really count on law enforcement officials locally like y'all to protect the people and uphold the law. And I just want to commend you for recognizing some of the behavior of the Delta Force and expelling them.
Well, I appreciate that. The decision really was not that difficult. We have the interest of the citizens of San Antonio. You know, this is a military city. We have a tremendous amount of respect for the military and what they do. But I do not have any respect for the tactics that were used by the advance team coming in here.
You're saying that they were disrespectful?
They were courteous and friendly to us, to our faces.
Delta Force did visit San Antonio later the next year during Operation Last Dance, held February 8th through February 20th. They also smashed into Kingsville, Port Aransas, Alice, Texas, Corpus Christi. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, and other towns. This is absolutely out of control. In some cases, especially in the case of Port Aransas, the local authorities were not even warned before massive military training, if you can call it that, was engaged in. Right here in America, it is clear psychological warfare against the police, the public, and everyone else in this nation, conditioning us to accept a militarized police state. It's basic terrorism, and I'm sad to say that about our military. But I forgot, it's Bill Clinton's military, isn't it? We can only imagine what's coming in the future with other administrations. This is an evil precedent that has been set. On the night of February 8th, 1999, right after my radio show, I got the word the Delta Force had smashed into the first of 6 towns, Kingsville, Texas. We got in the car, drove through the night to the South Texas coast, right in the middle of Texas oil country. It was incredibly surreal. Shades of Blade Runner.
We can still smell the fire. So you're boarding up the windows and doors?
Yes, sir.
From Army Special Operations Command's work?
Yes, sir.
Did you actually see Army Special Operations Delta Force?
I seen some of it. It was dark and from a distance.
Were the police working with them in these exercises?
They had the streets blocked off.
Did you hear weapons fire?
Yes, we heard machine guns.
And explosions?
Yeah, there's explosions.
Thanks for your time.
All right.
Keith, you go around inside while I keep them diverted, and I'll get us some of the fire damage footage.
Should give it a shot.
Well, you're looking at the upper floor of the Kingsville Police Department's detectives building, supposedly deserted. We'll go downstairs in just a little while and show you the damage there, and then we'll go interview some folks around the town, from just average citizens to officials. Why are they practicing taking over police stations? In Kingsville, they did warn some of the officials. In Port Aransas, they did not. Why are they engaging in this behavior? To condition the police as well as the general citizenry. completely burnt out on the second floor of the Kingsville Police Department Detectives Building. Notice the workmen repainting the supposedly abandoned Kingsville Police Department. That doesn't make much sense to me, but who knows? Maybe I am a conspiracy theorist.
Black helicopters.
Yes, sir.
And you couldn't see any markings. Were there lights on the helicopters?
No, sir, not when I saw them. Not at all.
And how low were they?
Oh, right above the building. You know, real low.
Ladies and gentlemen, Gracie lives in Casa Ricarda, approximately 250 feet from the Kingsville Detectives Building, the police department. Casa Ricarda is a nursing home, an old folks' home. This lady's out for a walk, and suddenly black helicopters, men in uniforms running around firing automatic weapons.
Did you appreciate not being warned and suddenly having black helicopters swarming?
No.
You didn't enjoy that?
No.
Judy Hayes, Alex Jones, nice to meet you. What's your position here?
I'm the lieutenant in charge of the patrol division.
Monday evening of this week, there was a Delta Force operation from Fort Bragg, otherwise known as Special Operations Command. Can you tell us how many helicopters were involved?
I can tell you that Monday night there was a joint training session between the United States Army and the Kingsville Police Department. The Army was doing some sort of extraction type thing. They used 8 helicopters. Our training involved sealing off the area as if we were involved in taking care of hazardous materials incident. So we were rerouting traffic and making sure that there was no civilian foot traffic in the area. So we got quite a bit of training in that area.
Did any of your SWAT team, I see you have 2 officers, look like they're SWAT trained, did they assist the Delta Force in any way?
The only participation on the part of the Kingsville Police Department was in a hazardous materials training session. We did not participate in any way with what the Army was doing.
We're also told that they were firing ceramic bullets.
I have no idea about anything that the Army was doing. It would be a situation in which you would need to contact them.
Now, the mayor had stated, or his office had stated, that it was secret, but what y'all are saying is it was secret up to a point, and then the police department went around and actually warned the citizens in the immediate area downtown.
I have no idea where the word secret came from, and I'm not going to respond to that. All I can tell you is that we did plan with the Army on this in order to get our training for hazardous materials, and we did warn as many persons as possible in the immediate area, and then moving out until we had to take our positions in order to take care of traffic flow.
So actually, the night of the event, several hours previous to the 8 helicopters coming in, y'all did warn the general public in the area?
We most certainly did.
Are you familiar with the Chief of Police of San Antonio, Al Philippus?
No, I'm not.
The deputy chief is, and we're told the chief also knows him. I went down back in May of '98, where he threw out the Delta Force, and I have him on tape. They attempted to bribe him, they endangered public safety.
I haven't got any idea of what you're talking about at all, and that includes any operations by anyone of that name. I know that we worked with the Army.
Okay, one of my last questions, and I do appreciate your time. Was there any money given to the city by the U.S. government to be able to carry out this exercise?
I think you would need to talk to our finance director on that.
Because the chief of police of San Antonio and the mayor talked about, again, the attempted bribery. It really became a big stink. It was in their paper for quite a long time.
I can't comment on that kind of thing. I'd have no knowledge of it whatsoever, and I've referred you to who you need to talk to.
Hi. Is this the mayor's office? I'd just like to ask him 2 or 3 questions.
Okay.
What's your name again, sir?
Carlos Lerma.
Carlos Lerma?
Yeah.
Well, it's good to meet you, City Manager. We're just curious about Army Special Operations from Fort Bragg coming here, Delta Force, and we'd like basically to ask some questions about, was the public informed beforehand? Are y'all aware of the 10th Amendment and posse comitatus and things like that?
No, I'm probably not aware of the 10th Amendment, but I made the decision not to inform the public because we would have had thousands of people around this area here and it would have been a lot harder to control.
Well, I mean, certainly you are aware of the 10th Amendment, though. It's states' rights. And posse comitatus is concerning federal troops working with local law enforcement in any area is expressly prohibited. And I'm not accusing you of doing something wrong. This has been done in literally hundreds of communities. I don't know if they told you that you were the first.
They told me I was the first of some current events or current exercises that they're going to have.
But you chose, just so it wouldn't endanger the public, to not tell the public about the operation that was held here Monday.
That's right. But the police were fully informed of it. They knew. As a matter of fact, they used an exercise to secure an area where we might have a hazardous material escape, like from our railroad tracks. We have trains that carry some materials that could be hazardous to you, and sometimes it has spills or an accident on the bypass. So they practiced an exercise to secure an area.
Oh, so local law enforcement actually worked with them?
Yeah.
Looking out your window and seeing unmarked helicopters and troops dressed in ninja black suits with assault rifles, it's kind of spooky.
Well, I agree with Mr. Sanchez, head of emergency management in Clyburg County and in the city of Kingsville. And he wasn't warned. Neither was the county commissioner's court or the county judge about what happened in Kingsville. 4 days later, in part of Operation Last Dance, Port Aransas got a little visit. Mayor Glenn Martin was not pleased.
Nobody wants to get in their business, but we ought to be able to answer questions, especially when they're flying at dangerously low levels and alerting the citizenry.
We contacted the mayor of Port Aransas, and in the Corpus Christi Caller-Times, he was also quoted as saying he was not warned of the impending raid. It can be termed nothing less than actual terrorism against the American people. By definition, terrorism seeks a political aim by scaring a population or a group of people. It's plain for all thinking people to see. America is in the process of a radical change, and I'm afraid to say it's not for the better. Alice, Texas was next on the list for Delta Force training. And one of my listeners on my radio program dropped by and talked to the police chief of Alice, Jack D. Compton. And what he found out was interesting. A very key piece of information came out. Foreign troops were involved. But who are the terrorists? It's certainly not Bill Clinton giving all of our nuclear weapons designs and enabling systems to the Chi-Coms. No. It's people like the Davidians or Randy and Vicki Weaver at Ruby Ridge, Idaho. Yeah, we're the terrorists. We're the danger. We're the threat because we won't submit to total domination, total control, total slavery. We need to get our priorities straight in this country and worry about our real national security risk, the real threats to our nation, like Bill Clinton, and the already forming global government that controls him. That's the crisis. That's the threat. Not our nation's people. Not American. Speaking of global government, let's go back and hear from Chief of Police in Alice, Texas, Jack D. Compton. As he admits, foreign troops were on the ground during the training mission in Alice, Texas, during the terror mission in Alice, Texas. Make no mistake, that's what it's about. Again, training police, training the general public, training the military that working together for national security is a wonderful thing. I'm here to tell you, historically speaking, it is nothing less than a nightmare. Governments are the most dangerous creations on earth. We've also learned that citizens in Alice were told that if they came outside their yards during the training exercise, they'd be taken to jail. This is getting more and more insane. The Bill of Rights is being flushed down the tubes. Why are foreign troops in almost all of these exercises, according to my sources? Why are they allowed to see all this secret activity? But the American people, in many cases, aren't even warned in the name of national security because people like Walter Zolskowski, spokesperson for Army Special Operations at Fort Bragg, has stated many times in many publications that, well, we can't let the public know because we have to protect our tactics. Oh, I see. The foreign troops aren't your enemy. You just got to protect your tactics from your enemy, and that's obviously the American people. An abandoned poultry plant was the site of Delta Force training in Alice, Texas, literally smack dab in the middle of a residential area, as I said, where children were at play. I wish I could say that these operations were just a blunder, a irresponsible activity on part of the Department of Defense. But ladies and gentlemen, it's clear it's being done on purpose. And old folks' homes, residential areas, all part of training the American people and police to accept visitations by black helicopters bearing armed men in black ski masks with automatic weapons. Unfortunately, the strange military activities are not localized only in Texas. They're happening all across the nation and with increased frequency. Literally hundreds of so-called training missions terrorizing the public. You heard the police chief of Alice, Texas, tell us that, well, there were some foreign troops, but I can't talk about it. Well, the sheriff, Larry Amerson, sure talked about it from Anniston, Alabama. He wasn't told that 800 Rangers with a contingent of Russian troops were going to be visiting the Anniston Municipal Airport. They didn't even warn the public when they turned the power off, not by accident, but on purpose. If this doesn't make it clear this is out-of-control psychological warfare upon the American people, psyops testing, I don't know what will make it clear to you, America. This is a crisis of pandemic proportions. Imagine sitting down to have dinner, and suddenly the power goes off at 9 o'clock at night. A few minutes later, you hear automatic weapons fire. You walk outside, black helicopters, structures on fire. That's what happened at the Anniston Municipal Airport back in March of 1999. And again, the sheriff was not even notified, Larry Amerson. But our good friends, the Russians, oh, it was okay to tell them all about it. And they were even allowed to join in on the fun, the terrorizing of the American public. Thank you, Bill Clinton. Lest you think it's just special operations from the Army and the Navy that have been engaging in this treacherous activity. Think twice. The Army National Guard is engaging in the same type activities, minus the live fire and burning structures. But when it came to the practice takeover of a private civilian airport, all the same. In Temple, Texas. Were y'all out here when the Czech troops were here?
Yes, they were here on, when was that? Wednesday.
Oh, the Czech troops were?
Mm-hmm.
What were they doing?
I think they're just stopping by. I don't know.
They were just stopping by?
Mm-hmm.
We heard there were some Czechoslovakian troops here?
Oh, yeah, there were some Czechoslovakian officers here.
What were they doing, just checking out how the U.S. operates?
They were with the Public Affairs Office out here.
Oh, really? Sir. Major Canyon, what is the exercise y'all are conducting here at the Temple, Texas Municipal Airport?
Okay, we're here acting like we're being deployed and occupying an airport, and then staging out of here and operating our missions out of this airport.
But, of course, this is for overseas, correct?
Either overseas or something local.
The place is Hebron, Maryland. The date, September 3rd and 4th, 1998. Another one of my listeners in Hebron, Maryland, sent me this amateur videotape and accompanying news articles. I called and confirmed his story with the sheriff and others in the town. The Marines came in, over 70 of them, and engaged in a takeover of the town, from the courthouse to other centers of city government, and then they went out during the day and at night and engaged in mock gun confiscations, aided by citizens, and yes, even adolescents and young children on bicycles looking for the supposed terrorist. All part of training our law enforcement, our military, and our local constabularies all around the country that it's normal activity to have children and others engaged with the military tattling on citizens. This is nothing but pure preparation for martial law. Again, Hebron, Maryland.
Are you the sheriff?
Yes, I am.
So tell me what's happening here.
We just got a military exercise training that's being conducted with civilian population, with the community, with the sheriff's office.
Oh, yeah, you fully support it?
Absolutely.
And what is the purpose of it?
It's to give these young Marine second lieutenants an opportunity for some real-world training with non-combatants who have been exposed to something like this. So therefore, they're not choreographed in any way.
They haven't been exposed to this kind of training before?
No.
Well, aren't they going to be going door to door to a few houses?
They are going door to door to some houses, but they're going door to houses where the people in those houses have already volunteered to be a part of the training exercise.
And what are they going to do when they get to the house?
That I'm not sure. They've talked that over with the people that have volunteered, but they're going to be going to no houses or no place in town where there's not a volunteer spirit.
But they're going to do gun confiscation, right?
Oh, no, not
weapons,
in my town.
Weapons?
No gun confiscation, no...
Well, they're going to confiscate artificial weapons.
Well, if that's part of the training scenario, but they're not taking any civilian weapons.
Well, but they're taking what is supposed to be mock weapons as if it were the citizens' weapons?
Now, that I'm not sure of. That. If they are, it's a part of their training scenario and their items that they have brought as part of their training equipment.
Right, but they're training in order so they could confiscate weapons.
I think that's the case, yes.
Yeah. Okay. You guys are using the ladder instead of like climbing by a rope or something.
Ladder's quicker, easier to get gear up to the roof.
You're also going to see plain-clothes Marine Corps spies going around coordinating the operations, coordinating local police, the military, and the tattletale citizens. The United States Marine Corps with plainclothes officers wandering around talking about house calls. The amateur cameraman that got us this footage lives in Maryland. He had every right to get this footage, but once the sun went down, the local police and the military did not want him to get some of the key footage, the raiding of the homes. What do they have to hide?
Tell me about the insurgent thing.
Okay, we have 4 individuals running around the town that are just basically acting as aggressors, bad guys, and their mission is, once the officers and lieutenants come in, their mission is to go out and seek these insurgents, see if they can locate them and remove them from the population.
And they haven't started doing that yet?
No, not at all.
And what kind of stuff are they going to do? Like act like they're shooting at you and stuff like that? Or?
Yeah, it's basically just a typical Marine training exercise. They have weapons, they'll be firing blank ammunition, just basic urban patrolling.
Just be doing that out in the street and stuff. And tell me about the door-to-door stuff that you're going to do.
What we're going to do is plant some rubber weapons in there, toy guns. The citizens have volunteered their services. They volunteered to be role players, and they've allowed us to use their homes.
And what are they going to do? Are there any of them are going to act like they don't want you to do it? Or?
Yeah, some are going to be friendly, some are going to be belligerent, some are going to be uncooperative.
Oh, now, what are you going to do? Are you going to arrest the people?
Are we going to arrest the people?
Well, or act out that you're...
No, sir, we're not going to arrest anyone.
What are you going to do to them?
Nothing. Go up to them and ask them questions, see if they've seen any subversive activity. You have to understand, these people have been versed in their roles.
When they're resisting, what are you going to do?
The people aren't playing the role to be resistant, sir. They're just civilians.
What about the rooftop stuff?
The rooftops? Don't know anything about it.
It was clear the entire day small children were aiding the United States Marine Corps in tattling and looking for the subversives. This is right out of Mein Kampf. This is Nazi-esque behavior. The tattletale police. Imagine Marines in your backyard, in your front yard, walking down your streets in the middle of the night. Well, you're a patriot, aren't you? Well, I certainly am, but this is a deadly, dangerous precedent that's being set. They're brainwashing our military. Now, if they had nothing to hide, I'm a little confused by their actions. The police began to get more and more aggressive as the night wore on, simply because this average Joe Q citizen was trying to catch some videotape of the bizarre activities.
How you doing?
How you doing, that, sir?
Very good. Yourself? How you doing? Not bad. Were you the same guy that was here earlier?
Lesson number 1, never turn off the video camera even though you feel intimidated. I've seen this, I can't tell you how many times. Sheldon, the amateur cameraman, turned off his camera when confronted by the sheriff's deputy. And yes, look right there on your screen right before he turned the camera off. A Marine with a fully automatic weapon. The point is, you see the relationship building here. Sheriff's deputy and military officer. Now, let's try to figure this out. Are they going to load our police up with our Marines on C-130s and fly them overseas? Just a question I have.
Hey, what do you want? About what?
About your activity.
What's my activity? What's wrong?
I need to speak with
you. Well, I'm doing something.
I'm doing something too. I need to talk to you. Come on over here. I'm doing my job.
Why are they around my truck? Well, what do you want?
Video camera off.
Okay.
Well, that's America. You just saw the camera shut off. He was told if he did any more videotaping, he'd be going to jail. And there's the police officer that told him to turn his camera off. Getting multiple visitations for walking down one of the main streets of Hebron, Maryland. Turn your camera off while the Marines check out your truck. Right there in black and white night vision video for you. Well, here we are in Northern California in Oakland, and Marines have come in for Operation Urban Warrior, what should be deemed Operation Desensitization of the Population. And they have their role players, they have their fake camps set up. We're going to take you in and show you what's happening.
Well, I think terrorism is being practiced on the residents of the city of Oakland because many of the retired teachers, retired military people have informed me that they understand what's going on and it's not anything that relates to humanitarian training whatsoever. This is a psychological, as we in the research community say, this is a psyops. They're preparing people for what is coming, not what is being presented today.
So you're saying they're preparing people to accept it with incrementalism?
That is correct. Like like the old frog example. Put the frog in the water and you just gradually continue to raise the heat on the water until the frog is cooked. That's the way it works. The problem is people in general just will not take their heads out of the sand. And they don't realize that when the head's in the sand, the other part of the body is totally exposed to problems. And I don't care. If I'm just the only person screaming like the voice in the wilderness, I'm going to tell everyone I can, listen, we have a serious problem.
How could you deny what's going on? Well, if this hasn't convinced you, get ready. Local police in Alameda and Oakland working with the military, the U.S. military, the U.S. Marine Corps and Urban Warrior, as well as foreign troops right there on your screen. Speaking of screens, computers, satellites, tracking and watching. Meanwhile, the cameras are going up. It's time for us all to realize what's happening. I'm sad to see our military and our police being merged and to see them changing from peace officers and defenders of the country into thugs and bullies for the bureaucrats and their foreign banker globalist controllers.
Typical of what you see in an urban environment, people hanging out doing nothing. And as we know, idle time is the devil's hands. People don't have jobs, they don't have a home to go to or a home that they want to go to, so they just hang out all day long. Right now, everything's calm. Everybody seems to be content. But at any minute, this could erupt into a riot.
The media was taken on a staged tour. This is the guided tours for the public.
Attention, attention, attention. Due to the large number of people arriving, we'll experience a short delay. Please remain calm and cooperate so that we can process you into the camp faster. Please cooperate with all personnel.
I'm very glad to see that the humanitarian assistance is going well.
Attention, attention, attention. American forces are here to help. Remain calm. We will not tolerate civil disobedience. Attention, attention, attention. American forces are here to help. Please remain calm. We will not tolerate civil disobedience.
Let's move. Let's move. We're right in the middle of the experiment. Need you to move. Need you to move. Oh, look. I need you guys to move, man. I'm not saying it. Zoom in down there.
Notice the defensive posture of the tanks surrounding the camp. They were staging a defense of the camp. Someone was going to try to free people, and that can't be allowed. Now, this poor fellow is going to be taken into the mock police station, handcuffed, and then transported to the camp for his best interest. Again, he must be a dangerous extremist.
Let me go! Let me try! Please! Ah! No! No!
I have rights. I have rights. Please. I have rights. Staging for a big offensive against the civilians. It's so much fun.
Camp, there's a few rules and regulations that you must abide by. One of them, no weapons is allowed, and no disturbances will be tolerated on the camp either. ID card that you have on your person needs to stay out where we can see you. These are the only means we have to identify you. Okay? If you have family members, we need you to keep your family members together as you are ultimately responsible for them. And if you have any questions out there, feel free to ask one of the Marines and they'll be glad to help you, answer any questions you might have. Shower hours are going for children from 4 to 6 p.m., for women from 6 to 8 p.m., and for men from 8 to 10 p.m. Okay?
Well, thank you very much. You've been very informative and very courteous. I really appreciate it. No,
thank you much. Does anybody have any questions? And no disturbances will be tolerated on the camp either.
In an actual environment, we would work very, very closely with local government. If this was a domestic crisis like an earthquake or a fire, then we would be working very, very close and hand in hand with FEMA and the American Red Cross, for example, and they would be in here helping us, or we would be actually helping them. If we were doing this, let's say in a Somalia or a Bangladesh or some other foreign country that had invited us in, then certainly we would be working with other non-governmental organizations and private organizations, and certainly government organizations.
Internationally, like the United Nations?
Certainly. You bet. We would really be here to provide support to them.
So a lot of the older people are getting out of the Marines.
Basically, it's all going to a younger type of person. It's mainly more young people are being involved with the new time of change, or a change of time.
What would you do if people in America were upset about getting their weapons taken away? Would you guys ever go and help the government take their weapons away? Well, we don't have to have this.
I don't know. I won't answer that question.
Okay.
Well, that's Oakland, California. Now let's go to some listening devices, cameras on the street corners, and armored personnel carriers in the hands of your local police. So, officer, you're on the Austin City SWAT team?
Yes, sir.
What type of vehicle is this?
Call it APC, Armored Personnel Carrier. Military donate that?
Police departments, from the smallest to the largest, all across the country, are receiving free military surplus, helicopters, APCs, and much more. A deadly trend that is expanding. Not just armor that local law enforcement from state agencies to local police departments are getting. It's listening devices. Of course, the excuse is to find the location of gunshots, but the designers openly admit it can also be used to listen to your conversations and triangulate your position. Just consciously think about this for a second. Listening devices in tandem with cameras, all federal funding. And in Austin, Texas, and many other cities I've visited, I have noticed that many of the cameras aim into the neighborhoods. They are not focused on the highways and byways. The checkpoints, those can't be ignored. Warrantless searches, random searches, are akin to some foreign third world dictatorship. Every day I see families being pulled over, being searched at random. Police have requested to search my vehicle, and in all of the 4 or 5 cases, I've told them no, but once I had to get somewhere, so I said, you know what, go ahead and search the vehicle. But you're thinking the media will keep you abreast of the situation? Well, my friends, you're looking at a FEMA control box at 98.9 KJFK-FM where I work. That can take over the radio station. It is radio controlled by a FEMA tower in New Braunfels, Texas. It covers almost all of the central part of the state of Texas. Little teletypes come printing out of the side of the machine weekly and update us. In the past, it was voluntary. Now it's mandatory, and they can remote control take over the station. I guess they've only got our best interest at heart. They are the globalists. They are the people that know best and understand how the world needs to be managed. They would never hurt us. Oh, that's funny. Why did they slaughter between 500 and 800,000 people in Africa, in Rwanda, back in 94 through 96? And I guess they do know better than our own Congress, our own House and Senate, how to run the nation. And if not, well, they'll just supersede the Constitution with executive orders that their puppet presidents will pass. They're the power. They're the enemy. But even the United Nations and the World Bank and the IMF and the rest of this global gang of thugs are nothing more than puppets. Puppets to the financial interests that control them, like the World Bank and the IMF. Massive foundations, as we speak, according to the Washington Post, are moving forward to destroy the Second Amendment. People like George Soros pumping tens of millions of dollars a year into the movement to disarm the law-abiding citizens and give the despotic government free rein to enslave us. Bill Clinton kisses mothers and gives weeping speeches, chiding how evil the gun industry is. The same gun industry that supplied the weapons that helped us defeat Hitler. In England, they're getting ready to restrict the right to a jury trial to most of the population. The U.S. is moving forward in joining the UN International Criminal Court with a tribunal, not juries. And the satellites are going up. And back to America with the thumb scanners, the retina scanners, the national ID cards, with your bank accounts, your insurance, your life history, all on one government-issued card. Think of the power and control it's going to give them.
I'm not a criminal. What's this for?
Then why do you need to mark him? Why do you need his...
That goes right into the FBI. Because Bill Clinton says I'm a criminal, because we're standing up against this.
Lest you think it can't happen to you, I simply spoke out against the thumb scanning that's going on in Texas, and I was taken to jail. And what happened to my cameraman of over 5 years, Mike Hansen? Now that's really sick. Mike Hansen, no criminal record, veteran, father of 2, happily married for 15 years. Well, Mike paid the ultimate price. He simply refused to let MJTF search his vehicle in a parking lot, and so they busted out his window on him and his 11-year-old daughter, searched the vehicle, found nothing stolen, but that didn't stop him from taking him to jail and beating him and torturing him. The moral of the story? America's in a police state. We better stand up and speak out and wake up the good police that are left out there. Knowledge is power. That's as old as human history itself. And our enemies know that. They have most Americans and the rest of the world locked in a mind-numb stupor, a false reality.